Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video for Thursday, September 16th. It is about 5 minutes after market close here in Jacksonville, Florida, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time to be exact. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the stocks that are leaders. The indices recovered from lows. That's under what just happened. You see that G5 leads. But the main focus of today is we're going to look at some of the leading stocks. Now, obviously, there's more. And I'm also maybe going to give you guys some insight as to where you can start if you're looking for further leading stocks beyond what I'm going to give you here in this video. So we're going to get to that here in just a moment. First, let's talk about what just happened today. I know I already alluded to it to some degree, but indices recover from the lows and G5 leads. You can see G5 really differentiating itself from the rest of the indices. And it's also important to note that G5 was down just as much or worse than all of these indices this morning, but came back very strong throughout the day. So G5 up 0.77%, S&P down 0.15%, but closing in the top of its range. Went slightly green, went back to red in the last little minutes, a couple of minutes of trading. QQQ slightly green, up 0.07%. Dow, midcap, and the Russell all down just a little bit, less than 20 basis points or 0.1%. The market state remains in a short-term pullback. However, I do have leaders highlighted in green because leaders acted very well today, and we've seen some very constructive action from leaders over the last 2 days. Market leaders is also having a small change. As you can see here on the trend gauge, we moved this little yellow arrow that was pointing towards neutral because some leaders were beginning to break moving averages. However, over the last 2 days, we've gotten some really good feedback from these leaders in a positive way. So we've moved that little yellow arrow pointing to neutral back under the middle here in the bullish. And then also on the short term, we have moved to green pointing towards bullish. This was a yellow arrow pointing towards bearish. We've seen the S&P just slightly get back above the 21, the Qs slightly above. So some positive action from the major indices in regards to their 21-day exponential moving average. Medium and long-term remain the same. So before we get into the video, before we discuss leading stocks, please allow me to reference the team at Revere per usual. And I say this every time, if you have questions, if you want to know more about one of these stocks I cover, if you have questions about how to start finding or screening for leading stocks, send me an email. I'm happy to respond, happy to help as much as I can. But if you're interested in anything that Revere does, if you're interested in our strategy or approach, want to know more about it, you can email me or you can email anybody here, Dan, Tim, Merrill, Alex, or Don at revereasset.com. So let's get into the charts, everybody. We're going to go to the S&P first, and you can see closing at the top of the range. So the low is 444. We closed pretty much at 447. High of the day was a little bit over 448. But we more or less closed right on the 21. This is SPY, so it's not an exact replication of the actual S&P 500 or the SPX as most people see it. But the key area I'm going to be watching here on SPY to the upside is through yesterday's high and today's high. That's what I want to see. It's this 448.50 area, maybe even 449. That would be a big bullish sign to me if SPY could get through 449. So I'm going to set an alert right there while I'm on the video with you guys here. So let's go to the Qs next. Qs a little bit stronger today, obviously. They actually got through yesterday's highs, 378.41, and you can see a really nice recovery from the Qs here after 5 straight down days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then red to green day yesterday, and then red to green day today as well. So really nice action from QQQ. DIA still a laggard, but trying to hold on here. Same situation, like really on the Dow, IWM, mid caps, S&P. Look at the last 3 or 4 days highs, and that's something you're going to want to pay attention to. So here on DIA, it's pretty much going to correspond to 350. So what I'm looking for is for the DIA to push through all of these highs here, get through this 350 area with some power maybe. IWM, similar story, right? All these little days here, I want to see to the upside, can we get through these highs? So it's going to be like 225 here, 224 on IWM. And conversely, I know I haven't mentioned to the upside or to the downside, watch the lows of the previous 2 days or even today. That's what you're going to want to pay attention to, just the lows of the days over the course of this week. For the S&P, I'll pull that one back up, right? These 2 lows here, 443.22, 443.44. Watch those areas, and then obviously I have covered the areas to the upside. And lastly, MDY, same story, right? Where's these highs at? 493, 495. So what I want to know is, are we going to get through 495 here and get back above the 21? So very close on a lot of these indices to gaining some traction to the upside. Now we just need to see a little bit more follow through. So let's go to the dollar, which had a really strong day today, pushing through kind of this little consolidation area they were in here, some of this resistance. So a big day for the dollar. That had an adverse impact on a few sectors. We're going to look at that in a moment here. And we also had TLT slightly down today. So a little bit of an interesting day to see the markets come back strong. The dollar is down, TLT is down, but yet growth stocks acted pretty well today. So let's get into some leading stocks, folks. And the very first one I'm going to cover for you here is Affirm. And I know I talked about this a few times last week. We talked about it on the podcast. Two massive gap ups on this name. You see the volume and you see the price action, right? So today, getting through this 115 area that was previous resistance, very, very nice action. And Alex is actually going to be putting out a bonus video. It may or may not have some Affirm analysis in it as well, maybe some options for you guys as well. So head to our YouTube channel, go to Revere Asset Management. He's going to be putting out a video on Affirm tonight. Lulu, another gap up, showing nice relative strength today. Doesn't have the volume like Affirm, but we like the action through yesterday's high, through these highs here. So now this 428 area that looks like it's, or 430, excuse me. Now we want to see, do we get through these two highs really? So I'm going to send an alert as I'm here with you. 430 on Lulu there. I'm going to run through a few more leaders here. Net up about 4% today, breaking over the highs of this little consolidation here. It's a recurring theme. Datadog. Come on, Market Smith, work with me here. Datadog, let's try one more time. Datadog, same situation, breaking through the highs of the consolidation over the last couple of weeks. And look at the RS line, right? Look at the RS line. Look what Datadog was doing while the market was going sideways to down. Palantir, same story. Look at the RS line angling up while the market has been going down for the last 6, 7, 8 days, right? And a big breakout with volume on Palantir today through this 27 level, which has been an area of resistance, through this 2750 level. Very, very nice move from Palantir today. Extremely impressive. Unity Software, not a massive leader today by any means, but we like to get back above the 8. And I should disclose, by the way, Affirm, Lulu, Net, Datadog, Unity Software, all owned in Grotection. Few more here because I want you guys to see these leading stocks. Align, this actually had a pocket pivot yesterday, right? You see the volume here, and then wonderful follow through today, getting back above the 8-day exponential. Really a rough shake on these 2 days here. Some of these higher price stocks can be a little bit illiquid at times, and they can move kind of drastically to the downside, and sometimes not even necessarily correlated with the market or their peers, but recovered very nicely and nice volume to follow up today as well. Another medical stock, this one's owned in Grotection, Dexcom, acting extremely well after this gap up. So a couple more leaders. I've got 2 more for you here. ZI, really acting well today. Just beautiful action here after it ran up and made new all-time highs by just a little bit. I would watch for this one to explode out of this little area at any time. It's the volume, the accumulation is there. There's a long base. You can't see the entirety of it. But just keep an eye on this ZI. It has the potential to possibly be really explosive to the upside. And lastly, Upstart. Wonderful, wonderful day today, making new highs. Once again, this stock is a leader. So those are leading stocks, right? So I just showed you probably about 10 to 12. I'm also going to show you, this oil stock. Although it wasn't up today, well, maybe it was. There it goes. Slightly up, slightly up. So DBN, although it was just slightly green, what's important is how it behaved relative to its peers. So I just want to show you what the oil and gas exploration ETF did today. It was down 1.5%. DBN was green. That's something I always want to pay attention to. And also look at the volume and the strength yesterday, up 7%. So keep your eye on DBN in the energy space. And we're going to go to a few laggards for the day. NVIDIA, a laggard. but nothing wrong with it. It ended up coming on throughout the day, down about 0.5%, very light volume. This is a beautiful consolidation to the 21. You've got a great line in the sand here, this 219, 220 area, which also corresponds to the close of this big move here. So a really nice consolidation. If you don't have exposure to NVIDIA, keep your eye on this one as it gets tight here on this 21 exponential moving average. A few more for you guys that were laggards today. XME really struggling with the strong dollar. And this is what I meant when that strong dollar impacted a few select sectors and stocks. Really hit XME hard. And another name in the same space that got hit hard, FCX, was down pretty much 7 to 8% all day. However, Nucor was green. This is your steel stocks, your leading steel stocks. STLD was not. MT also was not, and then AA. These are the four that I'm really closely monitoring. So there, you get some weird divergences with these groups. So, one day this stock's the leader, the next day it's this one. But metals and mining overall having a really tough time today, and some of the biggest holdings of this XME ETF really getting hit hard today. So tough day for metals and mining. And I guess in the same breath, this is a stock that looks relatively good. You can't see the full side of the chart here, but LTHM week today kind of goes in that same breath. It's somewhat metals and mining, although this is a chemical, I guess, to be specific, or a chemical company. I mentioned XOP as a laggard today. FCX, GS, also a laggard today, breaking the 21. Actually, it had already done that, rejected at the 21 again today, now sitting close to the 50-day moving average. And lastly, John Deere. So it's pretty evident, right? The strength was in the G5 type of names, not so much in the value type of names. And even and I know I've talked about XBI, but here we are on XBI again, a nice bounce, nice reclaim of the 21, and XBI trying to stay alive. So I keep an eye on this as a proxy to couple with what we show you with the G5. If risk appetite really picks up, then I would expect XBI to start moving as well. So that's going to wrap up the video. However, I do have one little tidbit. I know I mentioned, I would give you kind of some insight as to where do you start looking, how do you start looking to identify leading stocks, and really, excuse me, a great place to start is stocks making new all-time highs or new 52-week highs. Oftentimes those are the stocks that are leaders. I mean, look at today, for example. I mean, here's just to, kind of evidence my point. Here's Net today, right? Here's Datadog today. Those are just some good examples for you. Or even you can look at shorter time frames, like, making a new high for the last 3 months. Those types of things. You want to look at stocks making new highs. Another good place to look is the biggest volume movers and the biggest price movers. That is a really good place to start looking for leaders. And you want to look for relative strength lines that are angling upwards. You want to look for accumulation, big blue volume bars, and really great support at the areas where they should. Leading stocks have a tendency to respect the 21 and the 8, right? So that's what we're looking for in leading stocks, and that's a good place to start trying to find them. So as always, thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, send me an email. If not, I'll see you all on the podcast tomorrow. I also have a new little puppy that I adopted that I'll be showing off, so make sure you tune in to see that. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all on the podcast as well. Thanks.